Yo ho ho and a bottle of Security Weekly News. It's episode 345, which seems, I don't know, ominous or auspicious. Could be good or bad, I guess. I'm Doug White, and it is Friday the 1st of December 2023, so the last month of the year. We've got Cybertruck, Okta, Google, and more Google, Basta, Zoom, Unitronics again, Aaran Leyland, and more news on the Security Weekly News.
This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
It's the show that keeps you up to date on the latest security news twice a week. Your trusted source for accurate security information and expert analysis. It's time for the Security Weekly News. AI, accelerated cloud adoption, and hybrid work are fundamentally shifting how business gets done. The old way of securing your people, apps, and data doesn't work in scale anymore. To stay ahead, today's organizations need to reimagine their security and networking infrastructure with a cloud-first, unified SASE architecture. Join Palo Alto Networks and leading technologists from across the globe for SASE Converge 2023, a two-day virtual experience, November 15th and 16th. Revealing how SASE powered by advanced AI can drive better security and networking outcomes. Register today at securityweekly.com/Palo Alto. Well, welcome to the Security Weekly News. I'm Doug White. This week, Okta has announced that they kind of understated the number of users affected in that recent breach that we reported on. In the original story, they said that only 134 customers, which was less than 1% of their customer base, were affected. But this week, they announced that the whole story. So they said a threat actor hijacked data from all, so this was the underlying all workforce identity cloud and customer identity solution customers, except for some very specific what they called government grade environments. So I presume those were higher security environments that probably had to be on isolated servers. So when you go from less than 1% to all, that's a pretty big increase. The new findings, though, they had a whole report on this. The new findings said that the attacker ran a report on the 28th of September 2023 at 15:06 UTC or Zulu time or whatever you want to call it, which contained multiple fields for each user. So somebody trying to exfiltrate data. And they ran this in the Okta customer support system. But they said that in their investigation, they found that the majority of the fields in the report turned up blank. And it did not include credentials or sensitive personal data. So there was some good news cached in this, but they did say maybe everybody had been exposed. Okta blamed the attack on an employee who logged into a personal Google account on a company-managed laptop, which in turn exposed credentials that led to the attacks. So there's a lot to unpack in that attack. I think it's worth reading about. It's worth reading a report if you're a CISO or somebody who's administering endpoint security. This is something that we see all the time where people log into something, without any ill intent, and they end up in a problem, and then that compromises a company network on a trusted endpoint. And we're getting closer to those endpoints being trusted even more with pass keys and things like that being used. So be careful out there. Well, Google patched a 0-day this week, and it was the 7th 0-day flaw of 2023. The issue this time was an integer overflow bug in Skia, or Skya, I don't know how to say it. But Skya, if you aren't familiar with it, is the open source 2D graphics library that is the graphics engine that is used by Chrome and Firefox and a lot of other browsers. So it's a very highly used library. Google said the flaw was initially found and reported by Google threat analysis group called TAG, which implies that it might be being exploited by spyware vendors. I don't really know why that implied that, but that was what it said. Integer overflow bugs are, if you're not familiar with those kind of things, it's a programming problem. It's usually a simple situation where numbers exceed the maximum size in the buffer. So like 65,536 would not fit in the 16-bit space, which ends at 65,535, or 256 would not fit in the 8-bit space, which ends at 255. I mean, that's a little bit of oversimplification, but just so you get the idea of what goes on with these kind of things. It is another kind of, overflow type problem. Apparently the flaw could allow, and they didn't have a lot of details about this, but the flaw could allow an attacker to escape the sandbox via the use of a malicious file. So presumably there's something in that file that then causes this overflow, which allows them to get access outside the sandbox, which sounds really terrifying. It was only rated as high, though, which is good, and it is found in versions of Chrome prior to 119.0.6045.199, which I have not seen the push for this yet. So I have not seen Google pushing out this patch, but they will probably be pushing it very shortly, and I would presume Firefox and others may well have similar problems, but it didn't say anything about Firefox, so I don't know. In a research post on 29th of November, Elliptic and Corvus both were reporting about Black Basta ransomware group, and they said that Black Basta had attacked at least 329 organizations and received payments of at least $107 million from more than 90 victims this year. I'm in the wrong business. I mean, obviously crime may well pay, and it obviously pays a lot better than what I'm doing anyway. I mean, I kind of see me as an evil villain type. Old-fashioned villain, not modern hot villains, but like old Bond villains, which are like doughy old white guys. I could kind of fit that doughy old white villain kind of guy. I mean, I could live in a floating island lair or something and hold a cat. I mean, I already have the cat. So, if you're out there looking for a doughy white old villain, I mean, hey, I've got the cat already. I have a variety, so we could choose the one that shows up best on camera. And, with $107 million or so, I could add the island layer later. Or my idea was I live in a Zeppelin, and I anchor it to the Woolworth building so the shadow of my Zeppelin falls on Wall Street every morning. And I could do like evil street yoga or something for fun, like, down, in the Battery Park or something like that. No, I expect you to die, Mr. Bond. Sorry. Where was I? Anyway, all this with a $107 million gain put Black Basta as the fourth most active ransomware group by the number of victims, the fourth most active. So, so this shows you how prevalent this is. This was based on the number of victims in 2022 and 2023. In an advisory in June, CISA said that Lockbit took in 91 million from U.S. victims between early 2020 and mid 2023. So they're not doing as well. I don't know. Pretty soon you'll be able to buy shares of these companies. They'll be traded on the New York Stock Exchange or something like that. It'd be like, oh yeah, your income's down. But Black Basta has ransomware at ABB, Capta, Dish Network, among many others this year. So now, after the authorities took down the Quackbot botnet, which is the one that Black Basta primarily used, a large reduction in attacks in the second half of this year occurred. According to the report, at least 35% of the victims who were targeted by Black Basta paid a ransom in the third quarter of 2023, which is an interesting number. So keep an eye on that. Zoom paid a bug bounty for a flaw that was allowing the hijacking of service accounts with access to confidential information this week. The vulnerability was found in the Zoom Rooms feature and mostly affected Zoom tenants who were using email addresses from large providers like Outlook and Gmail. Not sure how that, what the relationship is there. But the flaw was found at an ethical hacking and bug bounty event in June and was patched prior to its disclosure, which is good. The report said there was no evidence that this had been used in the wild, so that's even better. The ethical hackers were able to use this vulnerability to gain access to Zoom Rooms and provided a demonstration at the HackerOne H1 4420 conference in June of this year. I guess my invitation to speak I lost to the mail or something, so, I'll be looking for that. But Zoom sponsored the event, and they paid out bounties for any findings that were there. This particular flaw got rated as high, and $5,000 was paid to several different people that participated in this. So it is known now, which means somebody will be exploiting it now. So patch your Zoom, if you haven't done that already. I actually did that when I saw this story. I went and checked my Zoom, and yep, it needed to be patched. So I patched it ASAP. In a survey of 500 CISOs, more than 95% of the CISOs reported that their teams received greater support from their organizations after a breach, and the majority of businesses did switch cybersecurity vendors after a breach. Now, this is an interesting finding because this is sort of a flip on the past, where a lot of times after breaches, not only did they not get more resources, they were starting to get less resources. And people were saying, well, if you guys are incompetent, we're going to fire people, we're going to lay people off, and blah, blah, blah. So, and of course, one of the most notorious things I've seen in the past was you fire the CISO and blame them for the breach. Now, sometimes that was valid and sometimes it was not. All the participants in this survey had managed at least one major incident within the last 5 years, and 63% of them reported that they had managed more than one major breach. 22% of the respondents said that job loss or redundancy was one of the organization's responses to the breach. And firings and layoffs occurred about 31% of the time in breaches that had occurred 3 or more years ago. But that number had dropped to 13% in the latest report. So a big decline in the number of CISOs that were getting fired over breaches, which I think is a good sign. It means companies are starting to recognize that their teams are not necessarily going to always prevent fires, but they should, have the best team to prevent fires and put fires out when they do start. 38% of the organizations did create new jobs and responsibilities after a breach occurred. So this was, to me, again, it's still responsive management, but at least they are responding positively and saying, oh, this is a problem. Maybe we should listen to what they're telling us and hire this and this and this and do this and this and that. So I think this is in general a good story. Certainly, there may be some CISOs that need to be fired out there. You know who you are. But all too often, this was just a sacrificial lamb CISO that we were seeing get fired. So it's good to see we're learning something as we go along. So on Tuesday, I did this story, but I'm going to bring it back up because it was added to later. So another water facility who was running Unitronics PLCs was hit. And the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Administration, CISA, published an advisory warning about these attacks this week. So if you are using Unitronics, this may be stories you want to take note of. The notice did not identify either of the two facilities, including the one in Aliquippa, because I enjoyed saying that so much. They didn't mention them. They just said facilities, but we know which facilities they are now. So the original one that I talked about on Tuesday was the one in Aliquippa, PA, and they supported about 6,600 people. But this second attack hit the North Texas Municipal Water District, which is called the NTMWD. Boy, that's easy. I think it would be easier to say North Texas Municipal Water District, but whatever. And they reported that a ransomware group, which was called Daixing, which I presume is Chinese because it's two Chinese characters for sure, Daixing. I don't know the tones because they didn't put it on there, but the group is called Daixing, so you don't really know what it means. But they had added the water district in Texas to their leak site and had a whole bunch of file directory structures and stuff to prove that they had actually broken in. And the water district said that the group had stolen sensitive data contained in 33,844 files. Now, the North Texas district supports 2.2 million people with an M in 2,200 square miles. Daixing was first seen in June of 2022 and has been actively tracked by CISA and the Water Information Sharing and Analysis Center, which honestly I'd never heard of. So if you are a water provider, you may want to check out the Water Information Sharing and Analysis Center and get started participating in that so you can get this kind of information when you need it. They said that Daixing targets many, many industries. They had a whole list, and once it got beyond everything I'd ever heard of, I was pretty much, let's just call it many. Now, Cyber Avengers, which is a different group, took credit for the attack in Aliquippa. So it looks like different groups are using this Unitronics flaw in order to compromise water districts. So you may need to look at some mitigations if you are using, and you should be looking at this stuff anyway. And so don't think you're excluded just because you look at the Slim Jim factory either. I mean, this can affect you both in terms of your water supply and in terms of trusted systems and spread. So if you're, connected to some water system and you're trusting their systems because that's how they do their billing, this could affect you just as well. In neither of these cases was the water supply threatened at all. But there's definitely the loss of information information and so forth. So be sure you're patched up, and be sure you're segmented from third parties, and be sure you segment all your ICS type stuff. It's just so critical that you do that. Well, Google is starting to delete old unused accounts starting today, so 1st of December. And they said they will be deleting all messages and photos and content on those accounts that are being deleted. And this applied to products such as Gmail, Google Photos, Google Drive, but it did not apply to YouTube videos or enterprise accounts. The company said they're starting with the most obvious accounts first. So these are accounts that were created and never used, or they were created and used once and never used again. So they are going after stuff that's probably just a lot of junk that somebody put together and then dumped it. I mean, I don't even know how many of those I've created for cases and stuff like that, and I never used them again. You know, I made it for a forensics case I was going to give to students or examination candidates, and I never, used it ever again. I just built it and got rid of it. So, and they're out there. Google did state that they would send notices to any backup email addresses listed on the account or phone numbers associated with the accounts ahead of time if you put those in. But if you do have old accounts and you want to protect them, or accounts that maybe you inherited, so I had somebody contact me about this, and they said, they were actually managing an account or they'd inherited an account from one of their parents who had this, and nobody logged into it in years and years and years, and they were wondering about, is this going to be deleted? And I was like, yeah, probably so. If you want to preserve it, just log into them. That was the simplest recommendation from Google, was you could just log into the account and then it's active again. So log in and you're good. But also back up that data. Even Google said this. You need to back this up locally or back it up somewhere else, because you do want to preserve all those old family photos you uploaded and you curated, 15 years ago, and then you forgot all about it and it's just sitting out there. And so have a backup. I mean, if you have old Google accounts, or even if you have new Google accounts that are used every day, be sure you have a backup. But log in today if you keep them alive, or they're probably going to be gone for good. And they said there would be no recovery after they're deleted. So if they delete them, they're gone. So if you got stuff you want to save, you better get in there and do it. Well, I was dreaming when I wrote this, so forgive me if it goes astray. But when I woke up this morning, I could have sworn it was Judgment Day. But then Aaran Leyland shows up and makes everything okay. I just modded a Prince lyric, so I'm doomed to eternal damnation. Hi, Aaron.
Hi, Dr. Doug. I just realized that it's December 1st today. Does that mean we get a Christmas jingle?
If I was clever, that's what I would have done. I would have found like a Christmas song, and maybe we'll do that next week. That's a little closer to Xmas Day. We'll have to do some Christmas music. So for Aaron.
Yeah. Christmas, holidays, festive time, all them things that people want to call it.
I'll use the Boomtown Rats or something. So,
no, let's not get started talking about Bob Geldof.
I know we already got delayed earlier talking about Shane McGowan. So
yeah, and bless Shane McGowan.
R.I.P.
May he rest in peace.
Indeed.
Okay. Okay. Today's professional commentary story. Not as interesting as music sometimes. U.S. seized cryptocurrency mixer used by North Korean Lazarus hackers. So they've seized it and shut it down. With the article stating the U.S. Treasury Department sanctioned the famous cryptocurrency mixer Simbad after it was claimed that North Korea hacker group Lazarus was using it to launder funds that had been stolen. So today, I will look at cryptocurrency, crypto mixers, and their role in state-sponsored cyber threats. I'll begin by breaking down these concepts. Obviously, a refresher for most of you, but let's leave no one behind, and I'll give a quick overview of both cryptocurrency and crypto mixers. Obviously, no way in a full explanation, as you'd have to listen to me for probably 8 to 12 hours, but if anybody wants to give me my own podcast, I'll happily talk about it for many, many hours. Okay, so cryptocurrency is not just digital money. It represents a paradigm shift in financial technology. Oh, yes, it does. It's built on a principle known as cryptography, which is the art of solving or writing codes. Each cryptocurrency operates on a blockchain, a form of distributed ledger technology, DLT, you'll hear this called. The ledger is maintained across multiple computers linked in a peer-to-peer network ensuring transparency and security. Transactions in cryptocurrencies are recorded in blocks, and each block is linked to the preceding one, creating a chain, hence the term blockchain. Okay, the decentralized nature of this system is revolutionary. It really is. When it comes out, it's like blockchain's going to fix everything. Not yet seen it, but hopefully it's still coming. It eliminates the need for centralized authorities like banks, making transactions more direct, faster, and in many cases more secure. This appears to be, to me anyway, upsetting those with power. And we just have to look at recent court cases against Ripple, XRP to back that up. This decentralization, while upsetting those with power, I won't keep going on about it, also poses significant challenges. The pseudonymous nature of transactions makes cryptocurrencies a potentially attractive tool for illicit activities, including funding for cyber attacks, ransomware payments, and money laundering. As with everything in cyber, pros and cons. So, right, crypto mixers. A crypto mixer is essentially a privacy tool that obscures the traceability of cryptocurrency transactions. It works by mixing the coins of its users with a pool of other coins. Then when you send the coins to a mixer, they get pooled with others, and then the mixer sends different coins to the intended recipient. The key here is that the coins received are not the same as those sent, breaking the direct link in the transaction chain. Technically, mixers use a variety of methods to obfuscate transaction origins. Some use coin join, where several users combine their transactions into one large transaction with multiple inputs and outputs. This makes it exponentially harder to determine which output corresponds to which input. The efficiency of a mixer in maintaining privacy obviously then also makes it a potent tool for cyber criminals by severing the clear transaction trail. Mixers make it challenging then for investigators to trace the flow of funds, especially, of course, those acquired through illegal means. So the Lazarus Group and Sinbad Mixer, the Lazarus Group, affiliated with North Korea, in my opinion, very much owned by North Korea, represents one of the most sophisticated in its own special way. I've thrown up some air quotes there for anybody listening and not watching. So sophisticated cyber threat actors in the global arena, at least when it comes to stealing your money. This group has been implicated in a series of high-profile cybercrimes, including significant financial heists and disruptive cyber attacks. Their method of monetizing these hacks often involves cryptocurrencies. This is mostly due to the fact that they are a pariah on the world stage and pretty heavy with sanctions, to be honest, and probably more soon after providing hundreds of train carriages, loads of weapons to that other friendly pariah and massive cyber adversary. That's what I guess. Russia. Okay. The Sinbad Mixer platform played a pivotal role in the Lazarus Group's operations by laundering the proceeds of their cyber heists. Sinbad was designed to work on the Bitcoin blockchain, which is, as most of you'll know, the most prominent of all cryptocurrencies, although definitely not the best for obfuscation, hence the crypto mixers. Its effectiveness in masking transaction paths made it a preferred tool for the Lazarus Group to launder millions from their cyber operations, including major thefts like Horizon Bridge, which a quick Google gave me $100 million reported loss there, and Axie Infinity, which another Google gave me numbers in range of $620 million. So not small amounts of money to anyone except Elon Musk, who recently appears to be trying to burn through $44 billion. Go Elon. Sinbad's technical sophistication lay in its ability to blend large volumes of transactions, thereby diluting the traceability of individual coins, and by using advanced algorithms to mix stolen funds with legitimate transactions, Sinbad could effectively erase the financial footprints of the Lazarus Group's activities. Now, the global crackdown on crypto mixers, exemplified by the actions against Sinbad, represents a significant stride in cybersecurity enforcement. Go the good guys. It's a recognition of the complex ways cybercrime is financed and the sophisticated methods used to mask these financial flows. So for cybersecurity professionals like us, the case of Sinbad and the Lazarus Group is definitely a stark reminder of the evolving landscape. It does highlight the need for advanced skills in blockchain analysis, financial forensics, and international law enforcement collaboration. And that's a top tip for some good job ideas for anybody looking to specialize in an interesting and cool area. To combat threats like these, cybersecurity practitioners must develop a deep understanding of both blockchain technology, go out and learn, and various tools and services that interact with it, such as mixers that we've just been talking about. And additionally, as always, staying abreast of the latest trends in cybercrime. Okay, so in conclusion today, cybersecurity, cryptocurrencies, and crypto mixers definitely reveal a landscape rich in innovation but fraught with risks. And as cybersecurity professionals, our role is not just to understand these technologies, but look to the future, look to the horizon, anticipate how they can be exploited, and to develop strategies to mitigate these risks. Okay, and now back to Dr. Doug, who's not silly enough, I believe, to play with cryptocurrency, but hopefully silly enough to take me to the Catalina wine mixer and prove to me it's as funny as the movie Step Brothers. Over to you, Dr. Doug.
Thank you, Aaron. I'm pretty silly, but I'm not that silly. So, I was silly enough to buy a little bit of cryptocurrency, but not silly enough to buy a bunch of NFTs. So you know how that goes.
Well, yeah. Let's talk about NFTs one day.
Yeah, we should.
How silly they were.
Oh my God. All right. And finally, well, despite having told advertisers to frack off this week, we'll keep it clean here. That wasn't what he actually said, but we'll use that old thing from Battlestar Galactica. Yeah, I mean, Elon can be a little... But Elon and Tesla did finally start delivering on the much maligned Cybertruck this week. Some people love it. I mean, some people don't like it. I think it looks like a prop from Logan's Run or something, but... Regardless of that, if you love it, that's cool. That's why they make chocolate and vanilla and, tutti frutti. But yesterday afternoon, Tesla did deliver the first 10 production Cybertrucks to customers in a live stream event. Elon has claimed that the Cybertruck is better than, this is so Elon. The Cybertruck is better than any other truck, but it's more of a sports car than any other sports car. And it is made of a special Tesla-designed steel alloy that he has claimed will never rust, although apparently you have to sand it or something. Musk also bragged that in a crash with another vehicle, the Cybertruck, which weighs in at about 3,000 kilos, that's like 6,500 English pounds, or whatever you call, I don't know what you call those, but whatever pounds, it's really heavy, and he said it will destroy the other vehicle. I'm like, he's a marketing genius, let me tell you, although maybe so. They always said that about SUVs. But he went on and he said that the body panels apparently are bulletproof. They tested the glass in this thing, apparently, when they had one previously was like breaking and falling apart. And this time they were like trying to smash the windows and such. They did mention that the tires are not bulletproof, even though they kind of look bulletproof. But he called it late civilization vibes. So, Mad Max kind of stuff. So yeah, it would fit. It needs a big blower on the front though to be in Mad Max. So I don't know, but anyway, I think Elon's really trying to be a Bond villain. I mean, same thing, doughy white guy. Maybe he really is. Unlike me, he probably can pull it off. So he's probably going to pretty soon build a floating island or a Zeppelin. Woolworth building, folks, let me tell you, tie your Zeppelins to the Woolworth building. But the Cybertruck's cheapest configuration, which is not currently available and said would not be available until 2025, is $60,900. But it has price points at $80,000 and $100,000 as well. Well, thanks, Aaron, and we will see you next week on the Security Weekly News.